Joseph Conrad said, "The belief in a supernatural source of evil is not necessary. Men alone are quite capable of every wickedness." Nietzsche once said, "When you look long into an abyss, the abyss looks into you." Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge is limited. Imagination encircles the world." Faulkner once said, "Don't bother just to be better than your contemporaries or predecessors. Try to be better than yourself." Samuel Johnson wrote, "Almost all absurdity of conduct arises from the imitation of those whom we cannot resemble." French poet Jacques Rigaud said, "Don't forget that I cannot see myself, that my role is limited to being the one who looks in the mirror." Rose Kennedy once said, "Birds sing after a storm. Why shouldn't people feel as free to delight in whatever sunlight remains to them?" Euripides said, "When a good man is hurt, all who would be called good must suffer with him." Euripides said, "When love is in excess, it brings a man no honor nor worthiness." Nietzsche wrote, "The irrationality of a thing is not an argument against its existence, rather, a condition of it."
Shakespeare wrote, "Nothing is so common as the wish to be remarkable."
Dr. Thomas Fuller wrote, "With foxes, we must play the fox." Hemingway wrote, "There is no hunting like the hunting of man, and those who have hunted our men long enough and liked it never really care for anything else." Carl Jung said, "The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers." Robert Auxton Bolton wrote, "A belief is not merely an idea the mind possesses. It is an idea that possesses the mind."
Albert Einstein asked the question that sometimes drives me hazy: am I or the others crazy?
Sir Peter Ustinov said, "Unfortunately, a superabundance of dreams is paid for by a growing potential for nightmares." Playwright Eugene Ionesco said, "Ideologies separate us. Dreams and anguish bring us together." Harriet Beecher Stowe once said, "The bitterest tears shed over graves are for words left unsaid and deeds left undone." The poet W.H. Auden wrote, "Evil is always unspectacular and always human, and shares our bed and eats at our table. Measure not the work until the day's out and the labor done." Elizabeth Barrett Browning. Roman philosopher Lucretius wrote, "What is food to one is to others bitter poison." Confucius warned us, "Before you embark on a journey of revenge, dig 2 graves. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed." Genesis 9:6. Albert Pines said, "What we do for ourselves dies with us. What we do for others and the world remains and is immortal." Norman MacLean wrote, "It is those we live with and love and should know who elude us."
Abraham Lincoln once said, "In the end, it's not the years in your life that count. It's the life in your years."
Nietzsche wrote, "The individual has always had to struggle to keep from being overwhelmed by the tribe."
W.H. Auden said, "Murder is unique in that it abolishes the party it injures, so that society must take the place of the victim and on his behalf demand atonement or grant forgiveness." Gandhi said, "Better to be violent if there's violence in our hearts than to put on the cloak of nonviolence to cover impotence."
Gandhi also said, "I object to violence because when it appears to do good, the good is only temporary. The evil it does is permanent."
Diane Arbus once said, "A photograph is a secret about a secret. The more it tells you, the less you know. Bernard Shaw once said, "An American has no sense of privacy. He does not know what it means. There is no such thing in the country."
Anthony Brandt wrote, "Other things may change us, but we start and end with family." Mexican proverb, "The house does not rest upon the ground, but upon a woman."
The French philosopher Voltaire wrote, "There are some that only employ words for the purpose of disguising their thoughts." The author François de la Rochefoucauld wrote, "We are so accustomed to disguise ourselves to others that in the end we become disguised to ourselves." Albert Einstein said, "Whoever undertakes to set himself up as judge in the field of truth and knowledge is shipwrecked by the laughter of the gods." George Orwell said, "In a time of universal deceit, telling the truth is a revolutionary act." Writer Elbert Hubbard said, "No man needs a vacation so much as the man who has just had one."